So, anyways, my name's Jerry Smith. I'm a writer for Dread Central, and I'm joined by my colleague Tyler Doupe for this. We're talking to writer, director, actor Josh Ruben and actor Chris Red to discuss their new movie Scare Me, which hits Shudder on October 1st, I believe. Josh, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Thank you for having us.
No, happy to. First and foremost, like, how are you holding up in all this weird existence that we're all going through?
It's weird. It's dark, feeling gaslit every day. It feels kind of wrong to be doing press for, my, the movie from a white male filmmaker in a world where marginalized communities are being, terrorized continuously. But this is an escapist movie, and I made it to be as fun as, at least hopefully, as fun as the kind of movies that I'd pop on as a kid to forget my bully, to forget the darkness in the world. And, that's what I want folks to get out of it. So I, step back from that. I'm coming out of a fog of editing my most recent film, Werewolves Within, which is about 6 months. So we wrapped on March 6th, locked down on the 12th, and then I got to work very, very, in a very privileged, very grateful way. So I sort of came out of that fog about 2.5 weeks ago, sort of going like, oh, okay, now I need to self-impose a routine here. The fact that we're sort of gearing up for Scare Me is sort of perfect timing, and it's bittersweet in many ways. Yeah, but I'm good. Long story longer. I hope you guys are too.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. I think I've eaten 2 neighbors. No, I'm just kidding.
Same.
From like the Friday the 13th, like opening credits to like that insidious kind of almost title reveal, Scare Me seems very rooted in a love for genre. And I mean, there's so many nods to like great, like excellent films that people love. And there just seems to be such a reverie towards it. Can you speak on like what brought this project to life for you?
I mean, there was a lot of stuff that brought it to life. From a business perspective, I knew that I wanted my first movie, which was going to be extremely scrappy and low budget, to make me feel the way that I felt watching everything from Tales from the Dark Side to Twilight Zone, the movie, to Tales from the Crypt, Freddy's Nightmares, and on and on and on and on. But I was sort of driven by what was going on in the world. I wrote this in about 3 days in May of 2018, which was the year of the Me Too stuff. And I was getting pretty pissed off about pretty much how silent a lot of my dude buddies were about the Me Too stuff. There were a lot of women who were sort of sharing how, fucked up it was that Aziz Ansari, who's this great comedic, human being, icon, comedian, who sort of comes out as taking a power trip and taking advantage of this woman. And I wanted to explore a similar kind of gender dynamic, which is the competition when dudes who feel self-entitled, or we're brought up to believe that we're the dominant gender, what happens when they're in the company of a successful woman who matches and even supersedes their intelligence and their wit and their success, and what that does to a guy who can't like self-soothe. So it was the confluence of events. It was this shit going on in the world, my not wanting to make a preachy Me Too movie by any means, but I wrote angry. And I knew I wanted to make kind of an anthology film that didn't leave the campfire, that was a sound designer's movie, simply because also we couldn't afford to leave the campfire, so to speak, to leave the cabin. So it was a confluence of stuff. And certainly above all, knowing that, no one was going to spoon feed me the opportunity to make a movie, and that I had to do it myself.
I think you did a great job of getting your message across, and you did it kind of slyly. It wasn't ham-fisted or, hitting people in the face with it. It was very much about subtext. But on the basis of Josh, sorry, Josh. Okay, edit this out, Jerry.
Yeah.
So Josh, Fred is such an interesting and layered character. Did you write the role knowing all along that you would be the one playing him, or did that transpire later in the process?
Oh yeah, I mean, simply because it was cheaper. Like, I knew you can get Josh Ruben for, SAG low budget minimum, and that also I could defer as many payments as I could above board. That was how we were able to make this thing at all. I read Mark and J. Duplass's book before we shot. That was kind of the inspiration for like, get your ass off the ground, get this thing made. And so, you know, we did crew deals and crew splits, and we're sort of like, hey, if this thing succeeds, everybody has, you know, you're all owners of this film to a degree. And I also, again, I wrote this as kind of a performance piece for myself, for this great cast, but also because I knew that, you know, I could do the physical comedy and I do the specific stuff with making, you know, gore sounds and, you know, Crypt Keeper impression and, you know, whatever else, all the other weird stuff. But now we have the comedic heightener of this movie.
Right. How's it going, Chris?
Fred. Oh my God.
What's going on, guys? Thank you. I was transferring my body from a car to my house where I have several chairs with bags. Chairs with bags. I am currently moving in a printer randomly on a bar. So we out here.
Awesome, man. Good to have you. So can you speak on like casting this film? Because I mean, it's a 3, sometimes 4-person film, but I mean, the casting I just thought was just so inspired. I mean, Aya and Chris, I mean, they're so much fun to watch. I mean, yourself too. Can you speak on like, did you write these roles specifically for them, or how did that come to be?
I knew that I wanted to make a talkie with a small cast, simply again because we couldn't afford a 12-person cast. So I knew I wanted actors who either had theater or live performance experience and also were super funny. Aya and her husband, who I've known for some time, they live local to where I wanted to shoot. It was near my hometown. My managers also represent Chris, and they were like, this dude just won an Emmy. He's going to be massive. If you don't know him, you're going to know him. And once I did a deep dive on Chris Red, I was like, whatever he wants, however he wants to be a part of this. And we had a meeting, and you were so gracious to, like, even as you're taking your coat off, walking in to sit down and eat, you're like, I love this. I was like, cool.
It was so awesome, man. Like, Josh was like, as you see and as you hear, he put so much into this, and I was sold just off of like the idea, how it was presented, the soundscape portion of it. Just, I love horror, so I'm really picky about horror, and horror comedy genre has really gone some really dope places in the last couple of years, and this was just something that was mad fresh to me, and I was like, damn, yo, I actually want to see this. I want to see this. I want to be a part of this thing, because I think it's just a great add to the genre, and I think it elevates it in a really cool way too. And just to minimalize all the bullshit and like get to it and let actors act, and it was just it just had everything I wanted to be a part of.
Chris, you're not on screen.
You guys have great beards, man. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yes.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but all of them connect, and I'm very jealous.
Thank you so much. Just to be brutally honest, it's so surreal to be, you know, on a Zoom with you right now. I'm kind of like, I need to pinch myself. But you know, so Chris, you're not on screen for as long as your co-stars, but you deliver a really unforgettable performance in the time that you do appear. What do you think it is that makes Carlo so memorable to the audience?
I think it's his want to be a part of it. It's want to be a part of something. It's his love for the genre. I think it's there's not a lot about me that's him, but the part that is that he really loves the people that he's in these scenes with. And I really was like so inspired by the work that they were doing around me and they had done before me, before I knew them. And just to be in the presence of that was so much fun for me, and it made me want to just like, I gotta deliver every single time. I gotta make sure I'm bringing my part in this, because it's only us, you know what I mean? And just to be able to have that experience. And so I think Carlos is very much a guy who is like, I want to take advantage of the moment, and in what better place to do that than in an actual horror movie, horror situation. That I feel like that's his dream. That's his wet dream, is this movie. You know what I mean? Delivering a pizza and all of a sudden being in that moment was just everything he's ever wanted. And I think that's what makes it's so infectious. So it's like an infectious energy that you get. Also the Coke. Kane, probably.
Right.
I'm just kidding, kids. Don't do cooking.
That scene, just God, man, I was laughing my ass off
Oh
last
my
night
God, your
watching
face, Chris's face, and I can watch. There's a low angle shot of Chris and Aya just looking up at. I just love every time. It never gets old. It was fun as hell. Really fun.
Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the film plays out in what could easily be an actor's like just wet dream or absolute nightmare with how much talking and monologues there are in the film. Did both of your backgrounds in like sketch comedy and stuff like that kind of help with that, or was it a different process to approach this one?
What do you think, Chris?
I think that it definitely being on stage, being like everything that I've done so far has led me to had lent itself well to this movie because it was like it was like an elevated boot camp, like just in that way. And I was like, I was so glad I was able to be able to improvise, be able to find moments, be able to like switch up and find another slight character changes that bring out something different. All those things I had learned like on the way. In my comedy journey and acting in general too, and just in the love of horror and being able to reference that too. So I feel like it definitely that's what pushed me the most too, was just like the fact that it did challenge you on those levels. That made it an exciting experience for me to shoot, man.
Mm-hmm. How much of what we saw with Carlo was on the page, and how much was it from improv between all of you guys?
There was a lot on the page. There was a lot on the page. I do not remember.
There was a long scene where it was a fever dream. Also because oh my God. I mean, like, the moments where we could open it up where Chris, you would go off. And I mean, there was a take that I thought, I mean, the movie's long for what it is. It should not be as long as it is. And in some of the Sundance feedback, there were some people, I think because that first night they saw it was midnight. So people were like, ready to go to bed anyway. But when we could open it up, I mean, I had to get really, really choosy about these brutal cuts, one of which was Chris going off on, I just said, keep describing a murder. It's the moment when Carlo comes in and he went off for like, it sounded like a 19-minute take. And
I remember this.
Zodiac.
That was my first night too. I think it was my first night there. And I was like getting into it. And I will say, I love to improvise, and the second I am able to, I will. And I knew it was gonna be too long, so but he said keep going. I'm like, fuck it, I'ma keep going. and that's what I love, because like there's like no lines in where you can just like create and go with this kind of genre and with this kind of film. So yeah, I'm sure there's like a lot of cutting room floor shit where I was just talking for way too long.
We're gonna find it and put it on an extras package. It was so funny. Right. But just by nature, we shot this thing in 14 days. I mean, technically less time because we got snowed out twice because of a blizzard. So and yet, and I had Chris for 2 days and change, and Aya for 9 of those 14 days. So truly, when you don't see people on camera, the other folks probably weren't there. I mean, Chris and I were so generous to be able to read with me off camera for a scene that was 14 pages that we ended up cutting all but 60 seconds of. But we only had so much time to kind of, to get it done. I'm so happy we did with what we did.
I'm proud of this thing, man.
Somebody. I don't know why.
Somebody.
It just starts playing. I'm proud of this thing. And then we all freeze.
What do you got, Tyler?
So circling back a little bit to the screenplay, Josh, I'm curious if Fred's insecurities are drawn from personal experience. I asked that because I think it's so common for creative types to sort of secretly worry that they might be a fraud and that they'll be exposed and they'll never measure up. And I mean, I say that from personal experience. I just think, oftentimes the more, creative you are, maybe the more you doubt yourself. And I was wondering if that was possibly semi-autobiographical.
Yeah, it was really fun and interesting to describe to my but male buddies, that I was making a movie that explored competition with a woman who is more successful. You know, we're taught as men that if you grow up, you're going to take care of the women and children in your family, of even your relatives at some point. So to kind of upend that expectation is some work that we need to do as a society, you know, feminism, masculinity, and kind of undo the expectations. We're in the industry where, people feel like they need to kind of, there's competition is so prevalent. And certainly from personal experience, I've had buddies who were intimidated by the fact that I didn't just do one thing, business partners intimidated by the fact that I didn't just do one thing. And so, part of me wanted to go after folks who seek to dim your light as a human being. And, friendship is activism. I'm sort of straying from the answer, but the long story, longer piece of it is, yes, it certainly is semi-autobiographical, and also like noticing in myself with the successful women in my life. And I am probably the wildest feminist you can meet. And I was raised by a lioness team of women. I have a great dad too, who's like, kind of very quiet in their sort of shadow, so to speak. But I certainly recognize in myself, in the company of successful women, of women that I've dated, of women friends who are, when they get ahead in the business, and I'm kind of like, oh, but I mean, like she did. And you kind of have to ask yourself as a man, am I going, she did because of her gender, or because of, that sort of placement? And it's I think it's really, really important to have the conversation. That's what I'm really excited about. I'm excited to make an escapist horror film people can kind of pop on, but I also am really excited to talk to dudes about that feeling, because it's something that it's okay to have, but it has everything to do with how men are raised, So yeah,
totally. And Fred is so intimidated by Fanny in so many ways, and at first we're kind of led to be like, okay, is she just picking at him? Like, what is going on? But as the film goes on, I mean, she's doing nothing other than exposing like these hateful things in the character. Like it's I thought it was a really good example of that. I have to ask, one of my favorite parts of the movie is the ongoing recurring references to edible arrangements. Like, was that just an in-joke that made it into the script? What is the etymology of like this edible arrangements joke?
I wish it was an allegory, a social allegory that, it represents, the ovaries that are the nucleus, etc. No, I think it was just an edible arrangement. I just thought it was a funny combination of words. There's probably a place in Williamsburg I walk past,
Josh got edible arrangements every day I was
and that's all he ate. It's all he ate.
He wouldn't eat nothing else. No meats, no salads, just all.
Open that bag, just fruit, candy, bad candy, old fruit too. Old fruit, candy, muffins, and tins,
A Werther's apple, yeah, very old fruit.
I wish it had more symbolism than that, but it does.
It's a good joke.
Jerry, that's okay. Thank you.
Josh, I wanted to talk a little bit about the character of Fanny. I think she's so fascinating, and I came away kind of obsessed with her. Was she inspired by anyone that you know? Is there maybe a bit of Aya in there? What can you tell us a little bit about how you conceptualized her?
Well, I honestly wanted to write to spar with an amazing actress, and to have, again, like an excuse to work with these great human beings, these incredibly talented people. And for Aya specifically, you could have plugged in any number of talented actresses, but Aya's acerbic, who she is, and her delivery and her vibe and her irreverence is that character. So you could plug, Jane Levy in there, and it would be a different movie. That part was sort of neutral and specific because of the fact that it can vacuum form to whatever actor we would have gotten in there. Carlo, the way Chris played it, I didn't think of him as a sweetheart, and a fan. And he knew he was a bookworm, and I knew he's meeting his Stephen King in Fanny. But if Chris didn't make that choice, you know, plug anybody else in who had made another choice, I also would have gone like, whatever you think. You know, Chris made his choice, I made her choice, and I think part of it is just it's the flavors these guys bring and their natural chemistry, and it's also part of how things end up where they do is Carlo and Fanny, Chris and Aya's chemistry and that character work to compound to lead to the outcome of the film. Just, you know, there's a naturalism there because these guys got to choose where, you know, how to take on what they wanted, you know.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Cool. Well, we won't take up much more of your time. Just had one more question to close this out. You know, you both mentioned being big horror fans. You know, I'm curious, is there anything recently that has kind of like stood out to you? And also, there is a very fucking bold statement on Silver Bullet, my friend. Like, is that from you or is that just the character?
Oh, that's from me. I fucking love Silver Bullet. I love Bad Moon too. Controversial. I love Bad Moon. Great effects. Late phases as well. But yeah, no. Chris, do you have the
I really like I had mentioned Insidious in this last interview, and I really love where they elevated like ghosts, demons. I really liked with Jordan Peele, how he's opened up psychological race with horror. I really like that a lot. Especially Get Out, and then Us was really special. I mean, also the Twilight Zone is fucking it's so good. Like the new one is so it's good to the point you don't even, if you didn't know there was an old one, like you wouldn't have the idea that this was like a continuation of a platform. Like it's just so creative and like and just so fun. But like the thing that's pushing me a lot is Lovecraft Country. Like I think
it's great.
It's phenomenal, man.
Oh my God.
In so many different ways, and it's not even trying to force you to be a horror, but it lives in so many different genres. But it's not afraid to just sit in it for a little while.
So good.
It's incredible, man.
That's what Jonathan Majors.
Genre is just like, I think that genre is just so good right now, man. And so good. I think everybody should continue to be as dope as you are and pay attention to these tropes and like push past them, including this movie, including ours. It's scared me. I think it pushes the envelope on stuff too. So
awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We definitely appreciate it, and you guys did great. And Chris, really quickly, I just wanted to take this opportunity to tell you that Popstar is the most quoted movie in my house. Not just like my wife and I, but like my kids. Every time they want to annoy me, they'll be like, "Have you met you?" And like, so thank you for driving my kids crazy too.
Oh man, thank y'all so much for that, man. I love that movie. Still one of my favorite things I've done, and I really appreciate it. Anytime anybody has ever watched the movie or brings it up, it just brings a smile to my face. So I thank you so much, man. I miss you, Josh.
Miss you, man. I'm so happy to be doing this with you.
Next time we do this, I will have a beard. I hope it connects.
Let's work on it.
Awesome, guys. Well, you guys have a good day.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure.
Thank you to both of you guys for being so approachable. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you.